If you're looking to understand the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, this video is for you. What's up fam? This is Anvita Dixit and today we're going to be understanding Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and where they actually come from. Now I know that I've spoken about Patanjali Yoga Sutras quite a lot on Instagram, but I don't think we necessarily understand the historical context of these Patanjali Yoga Sutras and why they're so important. So first of all, let's get into understanding who sage Patanjali actually was. So sage Patanjali existed in about 200 BC and he was somebody that compiled and expounded yoga in a very systematic fashion. So he's not considered to be the founder of the Yoga Shastra. Instead, he is someone who compiled the information about yoga in a very systematic manner and was able to present it to the youth or to the society of that time. Now, having understood that, Patanjali actually wrote 3 different works. One was on Sanskrit grammar, the second one was on the ancient Indian medicine called Ayurveda, and the third one was Patanjali's Yoga Sutras themselves. So he did quite a brilliant job of condensing different subject matters into different textbooks and allowing us to understand the concepts better. Now, as for Patanjali's Yoga Sutras themselves, they have been divided into 4 basic chapters and they consist of about 196 sutras. Now, before you go into wondering what is a sutra is basically an easier way of remembering a complex concept. So, you know how we use acronyms in regular life for our studies? Sutras was something that ancient Vedic society used to kind of condense information into one simple sentence or one simple line. And these 196 sutras talk about very different concepts on yoga and they sort of encapsulate one idea per sutra. So let's get into understanding what these 4 chapters or padas in Sanskrit are all about. The first one is known as the Samadhi Pad, which basically speaks about the aims of yoga and what should be the objective of a yogi. The second one is called the Sadhana Pad, which explains the practice of yoga and how to practically develop your understanding of the concept of yoga. The third one is called Vibhuti Pada, which basically explains the kind of powers and the changes that a yogi experiences as and when he moves along the path of yoga. And the fourth one is called Kaivalyadhama, which speaks about the enlightenment that is obtained or that will be experienced as a result of practicing yoga regularly. So these are the 4 paths. Once again, Samadhi Pad, Sadhana Pad, Vibhuti Pad and Kaivalya Pad. Now we're going to go very systematically and try and understand each of the sutras. So what I'm going to be doing is doing 1 sutra per video so that we can go into an in-depth understanding and we're not just rushing through all of the sutras. Before we begin, a lot of inspiration for all the material that I'm going to be sharing with you has been taken from this one book by Karambelkar, which is called the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, published by Kaivalyadhama. You can get it on Amazon. It's very easily available and it really explains the Patanjali Yoga Sutras in great detail. So a fantastic book, and a lot of what I'm going to be saying comes from this book itself. So the first one I thought we should take today is literally Sutra 1.1, which means the first sutra from the first chapter. So the first sutra is Hatha Yoga Anushasanam. And what it actually means in English is as follows. So the first word is Hatha. Now Hatha actually means now we begin, or this is. So it kind of indicates a starting point for the expounding or the exposition of the theory of yoga. A lot of writers and commentators on Patanjali Yoga Sutras believe that it could be a sign of a Mangal Charanam. So a Mangal Charanam in Vedic traditions was a sort of invocation or an auspicious chant that was said at the start of any important activity. And since there doesn't seem to be a separate Mangal Charanam for Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, some of the commentators believe that possibly this Hatha word was just used as now we're going to start a new topic, or as a Mangal Charana itself. So that is the belief of a few commentators. We're not exactly sure if this is definitely a Mangal Charana or not. Either way, it's definitely an emphasis to indicate that we're now beginning a new subject or the understanding of a new chapter. Having said that, since the word Atha actually exists there, a lot of commentators also believe that probably there was a larger body of work on yoga that was explained prior to the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and after having understood that, then people delved into the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and therefore Atha is used as literally the word therefore, or now that we've understood this, let us move towards Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So a lot of commentators would say that perhaps Patanjali Yoga Sutras are for a more advanced yogic practitioner and not really for a beginner. And keeping that in mind, we're going to try and understand these sutras in depth. And if it is genuinely for an advanced student, that means there were sutras for a beginner student, which at the moment we do not have access to or have not really been found in yogic literature as yet. So keeping that in mind, let's move on to understanding the next word. So Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So yoga is definitely the body of work itself. In the next sutra, we're going to be understanding what the word yoga itself means. And the third word is Anushasanam. Now this could be a synonym for the word Shastra, or for the fact that we're now starting a body or an exposition of work. So Anushasana means the discipline of, or a particular body of work that is now going to be understood. So Atha Yoga Anushasanam basically means that now begins the explanation or the exploration of the yogic shastra and the body of work surrounding yoga. So that is Sutra 1.1, and I hope that you've been able to understand what sage Patanjali was trying to explain through this sutra. We're going to be exploring the other sutras in depth as well, but this is also just to say, just like Patanjali did, that now begins the systematic exposition of the knowledge of yoga. And I hope that you stay on this journey of the Theory Thursday, where we delve into understanding Patanjali Yoga Sutras and applying it to our daily lives. So since this was just the first video, we haven't really related it to how it can contribute to our daily lives. But perhaps one way of looking at it is just to know that now onwards, we're serious students of the practice of yoga, and we have to be disciplined in our understanding and true to its authentic nature. So keeping that in mind, let's move on to understanding Sutra 1.2 in next week's video. And until then, I hope that you keep blasting, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.